Hey dreamers, and welcome to Dreamers Unite, the talk show for dreamers. Well, on this show, we are going to talk about dream creation, we're going to share information, we will be affirming our dreams, and most importantly, I think, is dream manifestation. So how do we live our dreams full, out loud, no excuses? Today, I have a very special guest. It is Joanne English Rollieson. She is the president and CEO of English Realty, one of the first Black-owned family real estate companies in New Jersey. Known as a realtor to the stars, her clients include Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, and former NBA star Kenny Anderson. Today, she is here to talk about her professional business success, her philanthropic dedication, and how her faith helped her overcome a life-threatening illness. She is one of the most courageous people on the planet, and I am thrilled to have her on my show. And she is, of course, my friend, Joanne English Rollieson. Welcome. Welcome to Dreamers Unite.
Thank you, Sherri. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, I want to start off with your business. So your father started the business 65 years ago. First of all, congratulations for keeping it going. How do you feel about, and is it pressure to keep that legacy alive?
Well, first off, it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to take over a family business. My father came into business when the struggle was real. So to be able to take over his business is really an honor. And it's also an obligation. If your parents have a business or anything like that, you want to continue the legacy, and you want to teach your children to also continue the legacy. So I work very closely with my father, and such as I also have my son working very closely with me, so that we can continue the legacy.
When we have a family-owned business, right, because you never know, are the kids going to carry on the legacy? Did you know you wanted to do this at a young age, and did you have another dream?
So, at a young age, I really don't think I realized how significant it was that my father started this business. So that's the key, is the knowledge. So you just think your parents are in business and they're doing their thing, and you're going to do your thing. But in going to school just to get a basic education, I thought I wanted to be an architect.
Oh.
And not even realizing that, listen, your family owns a real estate company. You know, that's major.
Yes.
So it's like, I think growing up, you want to be an individual. You don't want to be what your parents are. So that's why at that age, when you're young, I don't know that you really realize how important it is to have the knowledge of what your parents do. And if they own their own business, it only makes sense to keep it going.
You wanted to be an architect. It's something I did not know about you.
I thought I did.
You thought you did?
Yeah, because I like design.
Yes.
I'm artsy.
Yes.
I like being able to create. So, and I like to draw. So I thought I wanted to be an architect, and I went to school and I worked for a couple of architect firms over the summer when I was very young. I just, like I said, didn't realize that my family has this business that I probably need to be a part of. It had to be a significant change in my life before I realized it, and that was when I was in college. And I'm studying business, and I'm very aware of what my parents are doing, but I had a setback. My setback was a set-up, though. Okay. So my setback was I got pregnant with my son, Marco. So I had a child at 20 years old. So I had to make some decisions, and sometimes you have things set up in your life to set you up for your future. And that's what happened with me.
So I want to say that again. Sometimes you can have things in your life that you may think is a setback.
That's right.
But it's a setup for your future. Okay, there's a golden nugget. I'm catching it, and there it is to you. Okay, once you made the turning point in college, you were extremely successful. And I had the privilege of sharing your life story in a performance. So I learned this part about you that you said, you were driving around in your Mercedes and cash was flowing, and you were, of course, the realtor to the stars with these phenomenal clientele at such a young age, and also a baby. How did you stay grounded?
Basically, I felt that I was a very mature young person because, number one, I had a child, but also because of the discipline that my father gave me. So he made me buy my first house at 20 years old.
What?
So when I say he made me buy it, he set me up to purchase a home.
Okay.
And I bought this house closed on it by the time I was 20, and that was a significant also turning point in my life. So I just knew that that was the point where I knew I wanted to be in real estate, because I bought the house for I think $60,000. I sold it for $120,000, and I had $60,000 in my pocket, and I was very young, so that's when I knew the significance of being in real estate. And he did that so that he could show me how important it was to be in the business. Not only sell houses, but to be in the business so that you could succeed by being in real estate. So when I came into the business, that's when I said that, you know what, if I'm going to sell real estate, I want to sell to celebrities. So I went after my niche market by networking within the industry of the music industry. So I went to the parties and I gave out my card, and then I sold, the first person was, I think it might have been Mary. I worked within the music industry, and then one person referred me to another person, and then I began to become the realtor to the stars. And then Jamie Foster of Sister to Sister magazine picked up that I was selling to celebrities and did a story on me. So I actually became the realtor to the stars because I claimed to be the realtor to the stars.
Okay, here's another golden nugget. You claimed to be the realtor to the stars,
I did
right?
first.
So I think people need to understand that words are important, intention is extremely important. So you really set up your future by saying, this is what I want my future to be. You didn't claim, I don't think I can do it, this is really hard. Dad, I don't think I can follow in your footsteps, it's too giant. So to be so young and to go after celebrities, I mean, it's quite impressive that you were able, your first client was Mary J. Blige. I mean,
Yes.
kudos.
And I always say that I have what you call ADD. ADD. Adrenaline, desire, and drive. So that's my ADD. So if you have adrenaline, where, your heart gets pumping and you want something really bad, and you have the drive and the desire, then you can do anything.
Adrenaline, desire, drive.
ADD.
Whoop! ADD. Okay, another, golden nugget sharing with you guys. So I hope you're taking this down and you're taking it all in, because I am. You had it going on, clearly, but when you look at where you are now, and I'm sure, you've evolved in so many ways, what advice would you give your younger self?
The only advice that I would give myself would be to not stress and overdo it. And the reason why I say that is because the later self has learned that stress and too much anxiety and desire has to be controlled.
Okay.
And I say that to say that if you have too much, other things can happen. And stress causes illness. And I was so focused and so much drive and, and just all over the place. I just think that it just needs to be controlled.
Yes.
So that's the only advice I would give my younger self. But in all honesty, I am who I am today because of my younger self. So I also, it's a lesson. So you can't take away the lesson.
Yes. And so I'm glad you brought this part up, because I do know your journey in terms of there was a major illness, right?
Yes.
In your early 20s, you were diagnosed with stage 3B Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yes.
What was that like for you? And was it a wake-up call? How did you process all of that information? And how did you process fighting it?
Well, it was definitely a major wake-up call. My youth and my young desire to make it and live and strive superseded the fact that I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness.
Yes.
At that time, I probably didn't know the significance of cancer, okay? Back then, they used to call it the big C.
Yes.
Even my parents would not talk about it.
Wow.
They wouldn't talk about it with me. They wouldn't talk about it with others. She was always like, well, don't tell anybody. So, none of that mattered to me at that time, honestly. The only thing that mattered is that I'm supposed to be here.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that mattered, and I wanted to live. So everything that the doctors were saying, I mean, I heard it, but I didn't internalize it. And people were saying, well, Joanne must be in denial. No, I wasn't in denial. I understood, but I didn't understand the significance of how deadly the disease could be. And I'm glad I did.
Yes, it was a
I'm glad I
blessing,
did.
yes.
It was a blessing. So, and it was back at the time where actually stage 3B, and I learned later on in life, where I only had 6 months to live, according to my parents.
Wow.
So the fact that I fought and I continued living my life and I was a good patient, and even my doctors tell me, you were a good patient. I was a good patient and I did what they told me to do. I took my medicine. I went through chemo when it was a time where you actually got very sick and you were throwing up all the time. I went through it and I came out of it. When I went back to the doctor after 6 months of treatment, the doctors looked at my parents and they were like, we don't understand this. They said, her cells have gone back into like remission or back to normal as if I never had the disease. And I looked at my parents, I said, I told you, you were right.
There you go, there you go. And I am so grateful because I can't imagine a world without you still in it.
Yes, and again, it was lack of knowledge of the seriousness of it too.
Yes.
So just not knowing.
And also I think, as you said, it's not letting people put a claim on your life, not letting people decide what is meant for you. And the other thing is, because we don't share, or back then especially, now we're a little more, we're sharing information. But you're right, back then it was the big C, don't talk about it. And when you don't talk about things, that also, you're holding things inside, that causes illness as well.
It does.
So let's move forward to like 20 years later, and you get another diagnosis.
Yes.
And tell us about that.
Okay, so when I was 45, I was then diagnosed with stage 2B breast cancer. So now at 45, I'm much more knowledgeable. So still working in real estate, I made some significant changes in my life when I was diagnosed this time. So now being older, I'm more knowledgeable, and I'm looking at this as some sort of lesson for me. So all I knew is that I had to gain knowledge and I had to change my life. I had to do something different. So that's when I went to seek out organizations that supported cancer. And in doing that, I learned so much, and I learned that, you know, God must be using me. That's the only thing I could think of. I'm like, okay, God, I'm ready. Well, you know, He just wanted me to get through this. So I went through, again, chemotherapy, radiation, went through all that. This time I didn't get as sick because now they have medicines that keep you from being sick.
Yes.
But I was able to get through it, and I went to my cancer organizations, and in going to these different cancer support organizations, I felt that I needed to have my own organization because I like to run things. So it's hard for me to follow rules. So
That's a good thing. Run
like
it, own it, yes.
So, and who could run it better than me?
That's
Two-time
right.
survivor. And so I was a part of Gilda's club. I co-chaired the Cultural Outreach Department of Gilda's Club. I am a part of a tennis cancer support group. And I support them all, and I raise money for all of them, but I needed to have my own thing. And my own thing allowed me to be an advocate for others that have cancer. It also allowed me to be able to speak and talk about my illness. It also allowed me to let people know that cancer does not have to be a death sentence.
That's right.
And part of the changing my life was just being educated and going out and getting nutritional information.
Yes.
Just de-stressing information. I get massages. I do things now. It may sound selfish, but it's all about me right
There
now.
you go. Okay.
It's about me.
There you go. So I wanted to say, or ask, because I want to talk about self-care a little bit, because that's so important. What are some of the practices, and how do you keep that as a priority, especially with your hectic schedule? Because I think we all struggle with that,
Yes,
right?
very much so. So my family understands me very well, and they know it's about me.
There you go.
Me first. And because of my life-threatening challenges that I've been through, they respect. Also, just the fact that I was able to go out and get support and not put that type of pressure on my family when I was diagnosed, because believe it or not, when you have family members, they suffer just like you do, and sometimes more. So I purposely, strategically stepped away from the family so that I could get my own support, so they know the way I did that. So as far as what do I do and how do I do it and how do I prioritize and manage, you know, it's like the Nike saying, you just gotta do it.
Just gotta do it.
You just have to do
Yes.
it, because in all honesty, what do I do? I shop. That makes me happy.
Okay. Shopping therapy is
Shopping
good.
therapy.
Shopping therapy is good. There's another nugget.
I exercise.
Yes.
And I do exercises that I love, like
Yes.
tennis.
Yes.
I travel with my family and without. You know,
Yes.
sometimes you gotta do the little girl thing.
I
You know
like
what I
it.
mean? That's fun.
I like it.
I like to eat out. And people are like, well, Joanne, you eat out? And I'm like, yeah, I eat out. I also cook though. So, you know, I don't just eat out.
Yeah.
I cook and I eat out. But they said, do you eat out by yourself? There's something about eating by myself at a nice restaurant and having a great meal that I love that I like to do.
I think it's wonderful to date yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I
That's
think
almost
it's,
what it is.
yeah, it's dating yourself, and
That's
it's
a good
also
way. I never looked at it like
not
that.
looking at it like I'm being selfish, but it's looking at it, here's another nugget, that you are spending time with you. And because really, you have to teach the world how to treat you. So if you don't take time for yourself and you don't love yourself even enough to spend some time alone, because sometimes people don't realize like you always want to be around people
Yes,
because you don't like who you are.
that's true.
So it's time maybe to, like you said, get some inward time,
Absolutely.
do things and not feel like it's a bad thing, it's a
That's
good
right.
thing. So I think what you're saying, and all the fun things, the shopping, the eating, and all that's great too. But it really is saying, make me the priority and don't feel bad about it. Okay, there's another, that's a huge, you do not have to feel bad
That's right.
about treating yourself good.
Or guilty.
Or guilty.
That's right.
Yes. So I want to talk about, there are many people who want to buy a house. They want to buy their dream house, because that's also, right, a huge dream for many people. They want to be a homeowner. What's the first thing you say to them, and how do you take them through the process?
Okay, so, because I bought a house at such an early age, I first let them know that it's possible. So
There you go.
that's the first thing, that as far as your purchase is possible, so you have to want it. Secondly, I believe in education. After I educate them about being a homeowner, then I take them through the process of how to set yourself up. So the first thing that I talk about is credit. Okay, you wanna have decent credit. Doesn't have to be perfect, because there's all types of ways you can buy. Doesn't have to be perfect, but decent credit. You can't go charge up like the big TVs and cars and jewelry and all this stuff when you're trying to buy. You don't want to overextend yourself. Then I talk to them about saving. People don't like to save, and you need to save. I mean, when you make money, you need to save some money. So I talk about savings. And then I talk to them about the process of just making it happen. You know, having the A.D.D. Okay, that's the adrenaline. You have the adrenaline, the drive, and the desire.
I could talk to you forever, but I want to get to something that's a cherry red inside of you.
Okay.
So you know I talk a lot about cherry red because I'm launching a new television series, Cherry Red Sweet Escape.
And then a talk show.
And then a talk, right, Dreamers Unite, I'm already launching this one, it's here, people,
That's
it's here.
right.
So with Cherry Red, she really, for me, she represents what lives inside of you. So that's why I say, you know, it's your Cherry Red. So you're an artist on the inside. You're a realtor also, but on the inside, you're an artist. And you brought one of your paintings with you. Tell me a little bit about how you found that voice inside of you, because that's really what Cherry Red represents for me, is that finding a voice inside of yourself and not being too afraid to share it with others and with the world.
I've always known that I could draw. You know, that's why I said I was going to do architecture. My daughter-in-law took me to one of those sip and paints.
Yeah.
And this was about 5 years ago. So I always knew I had a little talent, but it wasn't until I went there and then I started actually painting again, did my Cherry Red come out. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa, this is pretty good,
That's
Joanne.
Cherry.
So, then we started doing sip and strokes at my place of business. We created a studio, and then we started teaching people how to paint, and then I started doing more and more painting. And some of the art that came out of me was like amazing, and I like shocked myself. I'm like, whoa, I did that? So
Yeah, it's beautiful.
so it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, and most people always have something inside of them.
Yes.
It's just that you gotta release it. I started painting, and that painting was actually therapeutic. So I found that painting and that artistic ability inside of me is also very healthy.
Agreed.
And so you have to release things because that releases stress.
Yes.
So if you have something inside of you,
Yes.
like that Cherry Red, you gotta let it go.
You gotta let it go. I love acting and writing, producing, directing, creating. So creating this show for me and all the wonderful people, I wish you could see all of them in the studio that help make this happen. It can be stressful, but if you love it, like you said, it's positive stress. The biggest, I think, nugget of the day, I'm gonna say for many, it could be an aha moment. Do what you love to do. One last thing before you go, which you didn't mention the name of your foundation,
Yes.
is Spring Bling.
Spring Bling Think Pink.
Yes.
Breast cancer benefit. I do an annual party, celebration of life,
Yes.
to give back to organizations that helped me get through my cancer. The Spring Bling is normally held in Florida, and it's normally the week after Mother's Day and the week before Memorial Day. And I'm gonna do Winter Bling. I've had 2 of them here, but I recently sold my house. I had them in my house. Now I'm gonna
Your
do it
beautiful
outside.
home.
Yeah, it's an amazing celebration of life. And if you want to donate, you can go to springblingthinkpink.com, and there's a donate button.
So your foundation has raised lots of money, and you're doing wonderful work in the breast cancer community. Can you share what some of the wonderful services and benefits from your fundraisers?
So, over the years, I'm a 14-year survivor, and I've donated over $95,000 to Englewood Hospital. And the nice thing is it goes toward the breast center. And they've acknowledged me and my donations by putting a plaque in the waiting room of the breast center, donated by Joanne English Rollieson of English Realty, and for the amazing funds that she's raised for the hospital.
That's
So
beautiful. So
I'm thankful.
you know what, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. I'm grateful that you shared this time with us today. And
I'm so happy to be here.
yeah, and I learned something about you that I didn't know. Yeah, and I just am grateful for our friendship, and I thank you for joining us on Dreamers Unite. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.